or when we have a trend. I think in terms of processes, people are looking at converting warehouses into an intelligent place. This will happen when the warehouses become bigger and more sophisticated. They are going to have some level of demand sensing and replenishment happening out of the warehouse. The second thing is they would compress the time. There will be more operations in the warehouse, picking and penning and dispatches as opposed to what we have had, because people are taking lead time out of most of the supply chain equations. And we would have more automation and electronics sitting in the warehouse because they are larger and they can afford to take this load. And we would have customized warehouse where processes would happen, labeling, assortment, repacking, etc., as opposed to just materials staying there. And like I said, we would have different kind of people sitting there and doing tasks which are not just fetch and carry tasks. We know what's happening in transportation, so I will not get into this detail. I think pooling is something that our industry in India has started talking about. Car companies are trying to say, let's get together and get onto trains. Let's get together and service the southern markets from North India through ships and so forth. Aggregation, there are companies in Mumbai which have done algorithms around aggregation, and they have optimized their transportation quite a bit. Everybody wants material to keep moving and not stay in one place, so cross-docking, continuous material movement is something that we will see more of. And execution is that most CEOs and CXOs are extremely concerned about lack of understanding of the cost, lack of visibility of when the material is going to arrive, particularly in distant locations. So that's something that people are focusing on. We spoke about GST, so I won't spend time on that. So it brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your time. Do we have time for questions, or we take them later on? Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Our next presentation is a customer presentation by Mr. Chaitanya Prabhu, Head Supply Chain at Arcia International. Mr. Prabhu is a well-regarded SCM professional with over 18 years of experience. At Arcia, he is responsible for the leadership and deliverables of supply chain. Mr. Prabhu has served in the Indian Army, where he was a part of the team responsible to strategize, plan and execute the supply chain for a highly sensitive product lines which needed to reach geographies across the country. With this, I request Mr. Prabhu to please take the dance.
I'd like to thank SAP to having given an opportunity to Arcia to come and present a case study on what kind of a business model we have today and how SAP is helping us to scale it up to levels which have not been seen so far in India. So let me just take you and give you a background if I could. Thank you. So a few points that you would see in the first 3-4 points would be more macroeconomics, if I could put it that way. And these are figures which tell a very compelling story as far as India is concerned. First of all, we talk about by 2030, India is planning to overtake Japan as the third largest economy in the world. When we talk about tonnage of cargo being taken across pan-India, we're talking about 3 billion to grow up to about 6 billion at a CAGR of about 7%. By 2025, we are expected to have a middle class of about 500 plus million. And we are talking about a consumer base of about 500 plus million. And by about 2020, we are supposed to have about 47 million workers. That's equivalent to the shortfall the world will have. So we are talking about a skill set which will be at premium in the next about 15 years. So we have India beautifully positioned not only as a consumer base but also as a global manufacturing hub. So when we look from a client perspective, India happens to be at the right place, at the right time, to becoming a regional, if not a global logistics hub, because you're closer to the market in terms of the consumers. At the same time, from the first mile value optimization service, you're closer to your manufacturing hub. Now, if you take this macroeconomics, let's look at the reality of the logistics scenario in India today. Our logistics expenses are about 14% of the GDP compared to about 9 to 10% in the developed world. And when we take a GDP of about 1.6 trillion US dollars, we're looking at an inefficiency or an opportunity of about 65 billion US dollars. That's where I think logisticians in India have a huge opportunity and need to have a vision and the guts to implement on that vision. When we look at the road infrastructure that we currently have, we still have to believe the story that 65% of India's cargo moves on roads compared to about balance by rail and coastal shipping. When we all know that about rail cargo transportation of freight is about 30% more economical than road. It takes about 5 to 6 days to move your cargo by a truck from Mumbai to Delhi, whereas the same cargo, if not more, can move in about 20 to 24 hours from Mumbai to Delhi by rail. But still, we do not send it by rail, primarily because we do not have consolidation and deconsolidation hubs. It is not the congestion on the rail tracks that is the challenge. It is the inability of our own logistics industry not being able to provide that infrastructure, which is creating a stabling effect, a queuing system for all cargo freight trains. And of course, all the toll nakas and the state checkposts, India as a developing nation tends to expend about 2.5 billion US dollars purely on fuel expenses. Now, when we look at the containerization level, we're looking at about India's level being at about 25% as against 60 to 70% in the developed world. When we look at, and this is one of the big fours talking about it, the average clearance time at ports in India is about 19 days compared to 4 to 5 days elsewhere, whether it's Singapore, Dubai or anywhere else. And when we talk about this gap of about 15 days, we are talking about additional buffer stock somewhere in the supply chain to ensure that there is no opportunity cost at the point of sale. So when we talk about buffer stock, we're talking about loss of capital. And finally, when we look at a throughput, a container throughput, in India with about 7,000 kilometers of a coastline, we handle about 9.4 million TEUs. And compare this with Dubai, which handle about 12 million, Singapore close to about 24 to 25 million, and China, to whom we compare ourselves from an economic perspective, handle about 186 million. That's the gap, that's the opportunity. Now, how do we capitalize on this Indian logistics opportunity? Where do we begin? What does it take? How do we implement? So the way we look at it from an Arshia perspective, I think the way forward and the only way forward is to complement the hard logistics and the soft logistics and get technology to complement so that we have a visibility of the product end to end from the point of origin to the point of consumption. So we talk about free trade warehousing zone. The government opened up the sector about 5 years back. And these are similar free trade warehousing zones which are very common worldwide. We have seen it in Dubai, we've seen it in Singapore, we've seen it in Hong Kong, in Shenzhen. And about, just to give you factual figures, it's about 27% of Dubai's economy is fed by the free trade zone in Dubai. That's the level of economics that we're talking about. Then we have an urgent need of domestic distribution parks. Now we have manufacturing clusters, but we do not have consolidators, we don't have aggregators. That's where a domestic distribution park will come in, will help cargo to be fitted in, and then get it to move across pan-India through the rail network. that's when I spoke about the challenge.